All right, Lorraine. Okay, so let's just settle into a nice, comfortable seated posture with your feet flat on the floor and have your feet about a hip's width apart, knees about a hip's width apart, and feel the weight of your hands in your lap, your sits bones in the chair, and your shoulders aligned with your hips. And imagine your spine is just a beautiful string of pearls of light that stretches from the base and goes all the way up through the crown of the head and beyond. And so just imagine you're lengthening your spine, you're putting some space in between your vertebrae. Also imagine you're lengthening your ears and you're kind of stretching your ears and your head away from your neck, and then you just glide your head backwards in alignment with your shoulders. And then go to the crown of the head and just relax your scalp and forehead and eyes and your nose, cheeks, the area around the mouth, the back of the tongue. Release the jaw, the temples, the ears, the inner ear. The back of the head and the neck. Just allow your shoulders and your shoulder blades to drop down and relax the throat and the chest and the belly and all of your limbs. Bring your attention to the breath, the sensations of the breath, the air flowing in and out of the nostrils. The expansion of the chest cavity, the whole thoracic region, all the ribs expanding out, contracting in. And then the belly. You might notice a bit of pressure against your waistband. You just breathe for a couple there. And as you're settling your breath, be aware of any sounds or any sensory information, external sensory information coming in to your conscious mind. And just allow it all to be there. Allow the sounds to be there. Try not to investigate, and just watch the extent to which your mind likes to travel. And notice what's arising in the mind this evening. And it's quite likely it's a little bit different than it was this morning or even yesterday. So just allow the thoughts to bubble up, to arise, to abide. And then they just kind of taper off if you don't kind of follow them. So really helpful if you can maybe just not follow those stories that are just that, stories. Be curious about what's there. Be curious about where the mind is moving to. And be objective. So try not to give yourself a hard time. And then our little equanimity meditation. So just bring to mind, the loves of your life, your beloveds. These very special friends we have in our life. And then there's people in our life we have completely the opposite, some kind of aversion. And then we have all these strangers that we kind of run into on a daily basis. So regardless of how you feel right now about each and every one of these people, the due to karma and impermanence, these relationships can change. And they're all equal. Just like you and me, they all want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. And they all have an extraordinary capacity for a Buddha mind. So I think we'll do this meditation this evening for all these people of our life, and by extension, all the sentient beings. So we're doing this practice, this purification, in the context of the 4 opponent powers. So this helps to give us some kind of resistance. So we start by thinking there is no negativity that can't be purified. And this purification process is basically a psychological one. We create negativity with our mind. So equally, we can change that by creating positivity instead. And we start by purifying, by applying the 4 opponent powers. And the first of these is the power of regret. So regret's not guilt. Regret is just this wish, this kind of in your heart, you're sorry you've done this thing. But it's not guilt. It's more like a kind of an adult way of taking responsibility for our actions. It's making ourselves accountable to ourselves. This is what regret is. It's actually very grounding, humbling and grounding, I think. So think about anything, regret anything you may have done to harm another living being on this day, in this life, and in all of our past lives. And think of specific actions of both your body and your speech, and then in general, regret all. And the reason to regret is based on this logic of karma, and we experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions. And so having harmed others, we ourselves will necessarily experience suffering in the future. And we cannot bear the thought of any future suffering that we might experience. And we know from our present suffering, we don't want any more. So logically, it makes sense to remove the karmic seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So think like this: I regret from the depths of my heart having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows, because I do not want the future suffering. I'm sick of suffering. And also regret any anger, attachment, and the rest that are the cause of why we harm others. And then think again, I'm sick of this suffering. And then think, well, what can I do about it? Whom can I turn to? So here we come to this power of reliance, and we turn to the Buddha, who we see as a doctor, because he has these methods that we can use to heal ourselves. And we're not looking, it's not like an external force that's going to forgive us all of our sins, etc., etc. This is a Buddha we're looking toward for healing, to show us the methods that we can use to heal ourselves. So we're purifying ourselves by relying upon his medicine. Excuse me. So imagine Vajrasattva above the crown of your head. And you can also imagine this is the mind of your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And he has this beautiful, radiant, he's made of beautiful, radiant, blissful white light. He's sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion. He has a beautiful, radiant face, and his eyes are long and peaceful and full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. He has a sweet red mouth. His hair is black and held up in a top knot. His arms are crossed at his heart, the left underneath the right. The left is holding a bell, representing wisdom, and the right is holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion, and their being crossed represents the union of these two, and this symbolizes enlightenment itself, the development of infinite wisdom and infinite compassion. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. So we have our little section on compassion. So in order to develop compassion, we need to rely upon other beings, the very beings we have harmed, and those who have harmed us, by developing a wish for them to be free from suffering. So this is how I understand from my teachers what compassion is. So think particularly of people you've harmed recently and in the past, and then in general, all beings we've ever harmed since beginningless time. And then remember those who have harmed you and have compassion for them, because the harm they've caused you is going to result as suffering for them sometime in the future. So make a strong aspiration to do this practice of purification for the sake of all these beings, and think, I must purify for their sake. And then we come to this power of remedy, and this is the medicine doing the practice of purification. And we start with the body. And Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart. And it arcs around and enters your crown and pours into your entire body, filling you completely. And it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of your lower orifices all the harm you've ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid. And this pours out of you and disappears into space, not one atom left, as we recite the mantra. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dinapatita Jida meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anarakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawa kama sitame Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan Sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dinapatita Jida meboa, sitokaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawa kama sitame, sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan, sawa tatagata vajramame mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya, Vajrasattva dinapatita, Jida meboa, sitokaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawa kama sitame, Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dinapatita Jida meboa, situkaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawa kama sitame, sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dinapatita Jida meboa, situkaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawa kama sitame, Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dinapatita Jida meboa, situkaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawa kama sitame, Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dinapatita Jida meboa, situkaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawa kama sitame, Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is now completely purified, and think that there's no way you could do anything other than benefit others now with your body. And next is the purification of our speech. And Vajrasattva very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra, and it arcs around now and quite forcefully enters your crown and fills your entire body again, except this time forces up to the top of your body all the negativity of your speech, and this just overflows and disappears into space, not one atom left. So imagine all the gossip and the harsh speech, inappropriate speech, kind of useless speech, lying, talking about people behind their backs, getting other people to agree with you. Imagine all of this is purified by this powerful nectar filling you as we recite the mantra again. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Am Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Trita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me sitam shriyam guru hum ha ha ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me sitam shriyam guru hum ha ha ho bhagavan Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita Jita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me sitam shriyam guru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita Jita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe. So again, feel so happy that your speech is now completely purified and imagine it's not possible to do anything other than benefit others now with your speech, including yourself, because you'll read and you'll hear what you say. And the next is the purification of our mind, and Vajrasattva very happily, very compassionately sends powerful beams of light this time from his heart, and this arcs around and enters your crown and just fills your entire being. So, you know, when you walk into a room, you flick on the switch when it's dark and the light instantly comes. So it's kind of like that. The light from Vajrasattva's heart hits your heart chakra, and all the darkness of the negativity of your mind, all your attachments and neediness and bitterness and grudges, anxiety, depression, anger, resentment, jealousy, all of this instantly dispelled, not one atom left as we recite the mantra again. Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me sitam shriyam guru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita jita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me sitam shriyam guru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita jita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sabasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita May Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Trida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sabasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita May Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sabasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita May Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe. So again, be delighted, all your delusions. This is the cause of our suffering and why we harm others with our body and our speech. And imagine they're all purified. It's gone completely. And think that there's no space in your heart now for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. And next is the purification of even the imprints of negativity of the body, speech, and mind. And this time, imagine that Vajrasattva sends light and nectar. So the nectar flows down and pushes all the negativity of the body out. And then the nectar flows from Vajrasattva's heart, flows up and pushes out all the negativity of your speech from the top parts of the body. And then the light comes and just smashes all of those delusions. And it all happens at the same time. So it fills you completely and eradicates even the subtlest imprints of negative energy from your consciousness. Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe. So now feel you are completely purified. There's not even one atom of negativity left in your mind stream. And even the subtlest obscurations to your enlightenment have been removed. And now we come to the power of resolve, and this is the fourth and final step in the purification process. It's a really crucial one, and this is this determination to refrain from harming with our body and our speech and our mind. And without some kind of a decision in our mind, we're just going to keep doing the same old things over and over again. The same old energy habits, patterns. So this determination to refrain from harming becomes like a beacon that guides your body and speech and mind in different direction, a more positive direction. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to talk about everything exists on the tip of the wishes, the aspiration. So just rejoice in your efforts to come along here tonight. Excuse me. I know for one person, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. So it takes quite a bit of effort to do that. So just rejoice. Excuse me, coughing. And then think of something you'd like to work on between now and tomorrow. And don't make it complicated or hard or lengthy or a big deal. Excuse me. So imagine Vajrasattva's delighted with us, wants to merge with your mind and melts into white light and absorbs into you through your crown. And think, my teacher's body, speech, and mind, Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind are the same. So Rinpoche would recommend thinking about emptiness. So in emptiness, there is no I, the creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma, and there is no negative karma created. So whatever level you understand emptiness, place your mind there for a little while. You can think of all phenomena as being empty. They do not exist from their own side. You can also think maybe the way things appear to me, why I'm interpreting them, maybe not really be the way they actually exist. And you know yourself, when you're in a bad frame of mind, you read an email and you interpret it completely differently than you would if you're in a good, happy, stable state of mind. It's just proof right there. So let's just dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy you've created doing this practice to all living beings, and think, may all the virtuous karma I've created from doing this practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. So let's just do the chanting the names of Manjushri. Comprised of Vajras, holy, dense, and firm, the newborn sovereign ruler of the world, emerging from the sky, the self-arisen, a massive blaze of knowledge and of insight, illuminating beacon of great light, a lamp of wisdom shining brightly, a light for beings, a lantern unto wisdom, with energy supreme most radiant. The Vidya King, the greatest mantras Lord, the Mantra King achieving noble aims, the great Usnisa, marvelous Usnisa, the Lord of space, revealer of all things. Okay, everybody. Lots of love. And let's have a strong wish for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to live long, for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and for all of your own individual bits and pieces. And Lorraine, may you have a stable work environment. I really wish that for you. Okay, everybody, lots of love. Good night. I will see you in Canada.